Welcome. In this video, the event Winter's Crown of Azur Lane will be summarized. Throughout the video, there will be spoilers for the story of Azur Lane. If you don't want to be spoiled, please go and play the game. The first half of Winter's Crown is based off of the Battle of the North Cape, which involves the sinking of the Scharnhorst. The second half is based on Operation Tungsten, the failed operation to sink Tirpitz. Winter's Crown starts off with a fleet of Royal Navy shipgirls, notably Belfast, Norfolk, and Sheffield, giving supplies to the Northern Parliament, with Aurora being the ship to greet the Royal Navy fleet. Belfast informs Aurora that the Second Fleet will arrive later that day, with Aurora thanking them for their support during the battle against the Crimson Axis. Norfolk is happy to finally be heading home, but Belfast reminds them to be vigilant as they may encounter something on the way back. Sheffield is suspicious of Aurora and the Northern Parliament, with Belfast saying she's just being paranoid. As they sail home, Sheffield notifies Belfast of an unknown signal rapidly approaching them. Belfast believes that they may be the new enemies that the Eagle Union warned them of, and calls for all units to be ready for battle to ensure their own safety and the safety of the second convoy. The fleet easily dispatches these new sirens, with Norfolk commenting on how easily they dealt with them and how they can finally go home for real this time. Sheffield interrupts her, saying that they need to take a detour after she received a message from the Royal Navy HQ. Said message was informing the First Fleet that the second convoy was attacked by the Iron Blood. However, they anticipated this, and it seems that one of the Ugly Sisters has taken the bait. Norfolk voices her concerns about facing a battleship, but Belfast reassures her, saying that Duke of York is en route to assist. Until then, they need to chase and bother the Iron Blood ships. Belfast sends Matchless and Musketeer for recon, while she leads the rest into battle. The fleet finally arrives at their target, Iron Blood battlecruiser KMS Scharnhorst, the eldest of the Ugly Sisters. Just for reference, they're called ugly not because they look ugly, but they have like an ugly amount of power. Scharnhorst calls the Royal Navy royal pains in the ass, with Belfast politely introducing herself, then taunting Scharnhorst by requesting that she scuttles herself to save her the trouble. So telling her to kill herself. Both sides then go to attack. Norfolk's radar and engine get hit, causing her to retreat. Scharnhorst disengages as she has something else to do. Belfast asks if Sheffield is able to pursue, but she can't due to engine issues. Belfast understands and wagers that Scharnhorst is bluffing and will return to attack the convoy shortly after her retreat. Scharnhorst is surprised that Belfast saw through her ruse, but is still confident that she'll win against a lone light cruiser. Belfast is ready to fight tooth and nail, with Scharnhorst calling her to come at her. It's a losing battle for Belfast, as Scharnhorst is about to give her a warrior's death, before she's interrupted by news of Anton being hit. This enrages her, calling out the, quote, slimy little crumpet-munching island ape bastard who just signed her own death warrant. Belfast knows who it is, and wishes that Scharnhorst will enjoy having the Duke for company. Duke of York arrives and orders Matchless and Musketeer to evac Belfast. Scharnhorst realizes that Belfast wasn't aiming to kill Scharnhorst, but rather destroy her radar so that the Duke may sneak up. Duke introduces herself, and the two get to fighting. Scharnhorst is keen on fighting until she's out of ammo, but she easily gets cut down by Duke of York. Duke returns to the fleet and celebrates her victory, though she comments that all should fight as gallantly as Scharnhorst did. Elsewhere, Tester reports that Scharnhorst's ID is gone, with Observer commenting that, like with Zed Fleet, giving her more power doesn't affect the outcome. But one thing did catch Tester's interest, that being the second convoy was sunk by planes. On the current settings, the Iron Blood shouldn't have enough strength to launch an aerial attack, but it happened anyways. Next in the script is the Royal Navy launching a large-scale aerial attack. Tester and Observer will need to monitor the situation closely, and leaves the North Sea in Purifier's hands. Back with the Royal Navy ships, Special Task Force 1, led by Victorious, arrives, with Duke of York greeting her. Victorious informs Duke that she brought Eagle Union fighter planes with her, specifically the Corsair, which she claims is comparable to the Seafire. Duke reminds Victorious of her target, with her reporting that her recon planes saw that the lone Queen of the North hasn't moved at all, perhaps due to attacks from X-boats. Duke calls out to all ships that Operation Tungsten shall begin, and their target is Tear Pits. Just as they're about to move out, the ocean begins falling apart and Purifier appears, taunting them and saying she wants to have some fun. Duke of York attempts to communicate with Royal Navy HQ, but finds that their comms are jammed, potentially meaning that they're in a mirror sea. Purifier comments on how someone she calls Little Miss Sunshine created a singularity, but is nowhere to be seen. She shrugs it off and sends a message to Observer about the situation. Duke rallies the troops and says that, despite the setback and loss of comms, Operation Tungsten will continue as planned. Victorious reaches Tear Pits and happily greets her. Tear Pits claims it's been a while since anyone has visited her, and how a Royal Navy carrier has suddenly appeared before her. Victorious introduces herself and says that she has a specially constructed 1,600-pound bomb specially made for the lone Queen of the North. Tear Pits likes the nickname, but she'll still fight with everything she has. Tear Pits appears to have shrugged off the bomb, with Victorious telling her to surrender or else Tear Pits will sink due to being nearly bombed to pieces. Tear Pits doesn't surrender. Victorious says that Bismarck, Tear Pits' sister, said the same thing. Tear Pits is surprised by this, then thanks Victorious, as there's nothing more tragic to the Iron Blood battleships than being forgotten. If she must trade her existence for an honorable battle, so be it. Victorious is confused by all this and calls everyone to retreat, radioing Duke of York that Operation Tungsten is a failure. After they reconvene, Duke of York tells everyone to prepare to return, as they must conclude Operation Tungsten out of fear of siren attacks and intervention. Victorious isn't pleased about it, but Duke reassures her that there will be other opportunities in the future. Victorious then alerts Duke to a singularity nearby, forcing Duke to change their plans and investigate it. The shape of the singularity is recognized by Duke as a queen's crown. Within the singularity, Purifier has found who she was looking for, Enterprise Meta. Enterprise Meta is about to leave the singularity they're in, but Purifier tells her that were she to do that, half the Northern Parliament would disappear. The Royal Navy fleet enters the singularity and begins targeting both Purifier and Enterprise Meta. Enterprise Meta shoots down Victorious's planes that were targeting her before turning to Purifier and telling her not to drag uninvolved people into her experiments. She turns back to Victorious, saying it's nice to see her again and calling her an outstanding warrior before running away. Purifier gets frustrated and begins firing her lasers. Before running off, Purifier reminds them that the Sirens are the bad guys and she'll be using a more powerful weapon next time they meet. Duke and Victorious are relieved to have driven off the Sirens, and the lone Queen of the North has been deprived of her crown. Back with the Sirens, the best predicted outcome was the loss of one Purifier model, and that the Royal Navy girls should experience their awakening soon. Observer closes the event by asking if Purifier would like to see the cherry blossoms in full bloom. Thank you for watching. Please follow my Twitter for updates, and please check out my other Azur Lane and Arknights videos as well.